What's going on, people, and welcome back to another Good Morning Tottenham. Well, we're about 5 minutes away from the afternoon, but good morning to you all today. And there has been some developments on Christian Romero. I mean, this is a bit Jekyll and Hyde, this deal. Bloody hell, toing and froing every day. One day it's on, one day it's off.
It wouldn't be Spurs if it wasn't that way. It wouldn't be Spurs if it wasn't any other way.
But today, apparently we're back on. We're back on today. As of last night, Mate Moretto said that Tottenham are planning to push for Christian Romero, and Fabrizio Romano last night said that Tottenham are still the only club leading the race for Christian Romero. Talks ongoing with Atalanta to reach an agreement. Work in progress tonight, today too. Personal terms have been agreed. I mean, it's pushing in the right direction at the moment. And also what's been said is that Atalanta are very much pushing for a centre-back today as well, which they think they can get over the line. A centre-back from Hellas Verona, as Fabrizio Romano has stated today. So, I mean, it seems as though this still is pushing in the right direction.
Yeah, and Charlie Eccleshare as well provided an update on Romero today. And he said, just on Romero, sources close to the deal remain confident that an agreement on price can be reached, but negotiations are still ongoing. Personal terms agreed, so that won't be an issue. So seems to be moving in the right direction, and that's the most important thing. I think a lot of us were getting a bit worried about difference in price and whether we can really force through the deal or whether we're going to allow yet again a few million to get away from us. But hopefully it seems to be progressing in the right direction. The fact that Atalanta are already looking at alternatives, and Damasio saying today that they're looking at the Lazio centre-back Felipe Luis, and they're looking at Demirel as well, Damasio said. So that seems to be very, very promising, that they're confident that Romero is going to go come to Spurs. And it looks like we're confident we're going to get our man. So maybe not too panicky just yet. All the reliable sources seem to be saying that everyone's still confident this deal is going to go through. So hopefully we can get it down the line, get over the line sooner rather than later. But with knowing Spurs, we're still going to haggle as much as possible to kind of get the cheapest deal possible.
Yeah, and Damasio did say about this deal this morning, saying a meeting between Tottenham and Atalanta is expected this week to try and close the deal for Christian Romero. And there was an update from Glongari. Let me just try find it. Have you got it up there?
Yeah, it says Tottenham are ready to increase their offer from around 50 million and 5 million, 50 million euros and 5 million in bonuses for Romero. Spurs are very confident of finding an agreement with Atalanta. I want to thank Zyle Frosty for tagging me in that because I was looking for it. But yeah, that is the latest at the moment with the Romero deal. So as of yesterday, there was a difference in price, and Alistair Gold saying talks are slowed and things like that. As of today, things seem to be picking up again, and there's more confidence this deal will get done and over the line. I think the most telling thing is I don't think usually clubs really look at alternatives seriously unless they're really confident that a deal is probably going to go through for the sale. So I think the fact that Atalanta in advance talks to other players, I think says a lot.
Yeah, I think so as well, and it looks as though, I mean, I don't want to look a bit naive here and seeing that we haven't been around the block in this sense before, but it does seem like it is pushing in the right direction, and I think that this deal's going to get over the line. I genuinely believe that, but I don't know if I'm being naive or not.
A Spurs fan.
But a lot of Spurs fans don't think this is going to get done because of what's been done in the past.
Yeah, and I don't blame them. Until it's like signed and sealed. It's always up in the air with Tottenham. There's always a chance he'll fall down at some point. But at the moment, it seems positive. So let's hope that we can get it. We can get it over the line. Looks like it's going to bleed into next week, so I'm not going to know probably until we have till Tottenham sit down again with Atalanta and really iron out the specifics. But it seems like Tottenham might push the boat out a tiny bit and to try and force the move and get it over the line. So that's promising.
If we do end up getting this deal over the line for 50, 55 million euros, whatever it may be, do you think that's a deal that presents good value?
Yeah, because what if 50 million euros plus bonuses, so that's like what 42 million?
5 million in bonuses, he's saying, Glongari.
Yeah, so that's like it depends what the bonuses are, to be honest. If Tottenham win the league, he gets a bonus. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a difference. But I think it is good value, because if that's like £45 million around for a player who's 23 years of age, who just got Player of the Year and Defender of the Year in Serie A, I think that does represent good value for money, especially when I know obviously, United got Varane for a similar price, but he's got 1 year left on his contract. You got to think of other centre-backs who've gone for a lot more money than that. So I think in this deal, in this day and age, I think it's a good price. I think it's a good price for a good player, and that's what we got to pay.
Romero said last night that Barcelona are not in the race at all, and they might have been considering making a loan offer, but it doesn't seem to be the case. And he also said that Tottenham seem to be the only team in the running for Christian Romero. Does that worry you at all, or is that just good news for you?
Well, that Barcelona are not in for him?
Or that no other clubs are looking at him?
Why would that worry me?
Well, that no one else is seeming that that the deal maybe represents good value. I mean, there are teams looking for centre-backs right now, but I'm just saying, does it worry you that no one else is actually looking at him?
No, I don't think it worries me. I just think that I'm sure that other clubs interested, but I think at the moment we've stolen a march on them, and we've already got personal terms agreed, which is a big point. And we've already spoken to him. We clearly showed him that we really desperate for him to come to the club. So no, it doesn't worry me. I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to be a great signing for Spurs if we get him over the line. So just because. First of all, it's difficult for a lot of clubs right now to be spending that kind of money, and you think say, why aren't City in for him? Well, they've had a very good defence last season. There's Stones and Diaz and Laporte. They don't need to spend 45 million on someone like Romero. Chelsea are going to get Koundé, like Man United are getting Varane. So there's not many clubs right now who can afford to spend that money. So out of the clubs, I think we're a decent option. So. It doesn't bother me. And also, Liverpool got Konate. So I think in the Premier League anyway, all the clubs above us already sealed a centre-back. So
Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez made their return last night. See Van Dijk getting completely spun.
Yeah, he got turned hard by Jovetic, proper hard. So yeah, I think He's come back from a very, very serious injury, so
No,
it'll
of
take him a
course.
bit of time, won't he?
Of course, but just people just like to clown on anything.
Of course
these
they
days,
do,
don't they?
Of course they do. They want Van Dijk to come back and be awful again, or not again, but be awful. That's what rival clubs want. So they're always going to make fun of that kind of situation.
If Romero does come through the door, where do you think, as it stands with Romero and this current centre-back options, where do our centre-back options rank within the top 6?
Still not up to it.
Still not up to it, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
Varane and Maguire are up there, Konate and Van Dijk are up there,
and Gomez,
and then
you got Diaz and Stones and Laporte. And you got, and also Liverpool got Konate as well through the door. Chelsea have got Thiago Silva, Rudiger. They're going to get Koundé. So I think, and Christensen had a great Euros as well. So I think at the moment, just if we have Romero, that means at the moment we've got Romero, Rodon, Sanchez, Dyer. No, it's still not in the top 4. If we get another one, and depends who it is, but maybe we could have a bit of an argument. But at the moment, still quite a way outside the top 4, I would say, in terms of centre-back options.
Would you say it's better than Arsenal's options in terms of Ben White and Gabriel and them?
Yeah, I would say it's better. Well, yeah, because I think Romero he's much better than anyone Arsenal will have, like much better. Mm-hmm. So I think him plus like Rodon, I think we will just shade Arsenal's best centre-back pairing. But it's not by that much, because I think Gabriel's pretty good. He had a decent first season. And Ben White, I think, is an upgrade on what they have. So I think they are improving on that side. But I think Romero would make a big difference.
And in terms of his perfect centre-back partner to who we have right now, you'd probably say either Joe Rodon or Eric Dyer, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, we'll go on to that the story after about what Elkashire was saying about players who might look to leave, but it has to be because there's not many options, only them two or Sanchez. So I think I would say Romero would be best partner, probably a Joe Rodon, just because Rodon is, I feel like he's very aggressive inside the box. He's a very good inside the box defender in that sense. He's not so much like Romero, where he's as comfortable coming into the centre of the pitch and being that aggressive. He's very good at like clearances and heading the ball away and stuff like that. And when crosses come across the face of goal, he's very good at cutting those things out. Whereas Romero's strengths are very much being aggressive, pressing very, very aggressively, making sure that a striker can't turn and that kind of stuff. So I think Romero and Rodon can actually strike up a decent partnership in that sense.
Is it a bit too inexperienced for you?
Probably, yeah. But they could grow. Look, if we're going into it with Romero and Rodon next season, there's going to be mistakes made and it's going to be a learning curve. And I think you'd have to say like it would have to be a bit of like you'd have to give it a season. And I don't think it's going to be a calamity or anything like that. I think it'll be good, but I think it'll be like one of those. It'll be one of those seasons where a bit of transition where they have to have their mistakes together to kind of learn together, and then maybe after a season we might see like real good quality.
I mean, this is a real transitional season we're going into now, isn't it?
Third in a row.
Yeah, but I mean, the last two, like, we hadn't had that kind of rebuild. It seems as though we're kind of somewhat getting it this summer. So for me, I feel like this is a proper transitional season. Maybe, hopefully, the last transitional season.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's a bit frustrating that we're transitioning for so long, and you would hope that this season we could kind of get ourselves together. But you're right, you can't expect anything else other than a transitional season this season.
And really, we're going into it. I mean, the last two seasons, we still went into it with hope of getting top 4. We thought we could potentially break into that top 4 again. But the majority of the fan base, including me, thinks maybe top 4 might be a bit too far for us this season.
I can't. That we are so far behind. I mean, in terms of points last season, we weren't. But in terms of, I think, quality of the squad right now, especially in defence, where we're at, I just think we're so far behind. The other teams are progressing. They've already signed big upgrades in the positions that they were weak last season. They were already moving ahead of us last season with, United having a great season, finishing second, unbeaten away from home all season. Man
And
Man City obviously won the league. Liverpool obviously had a horrific season, but they got all their injuries back now, so they're going to improve. And then Chelsea got Champions League win, so they're going to be buoyed by that. And they've already improved as well. And yet Spurs are still playing catch-up. So as of right now, yeah, we're still very, very far behind. We've got so much work to do if we're going to even a tiny bit catch up on them, let alone completely compete with them for top four. So I think right now it's way too early to say we can compete for top four. Unfortunately, that's just where we're at. I wish it wasn't, but that's the case.
I think you're absolutely spot on there. But there has been some more updates today. Let's go over to Charlie Eccleshare and see what he's saying. And he said today that Moussa Sissoko, Serge Aurier and Davinson Sanchez have all been told that Spurs would like to move them on this summer. So they've actually been told that they're welcome to move on. We've heard about Sissoko with rumours linking him to the Middle East. We've heard about Aurier, that no bids have come in whatsoever for Serge Aurier. And with Davinson Sanchez, we've heard that Sevilla are interested. We've heard that a few unnamed clubs are also interested in Davinson Sanchez. Realistically, do you think that we will move all three on this summer?
I would hope so. I think we will. I really am hopeful that we will, because I think at the moment there's no place for these players. Sanchez, I think out of those players, is the most sellable asset in terms of getting real cash for him.
Yeah.
You would have to think that he's the only player on that list that you could get at least 20, 25, 30 million for him. But I think they've all been here a while now. We all know what kind of player they are. They don't seem to be learning from their mistakes. I think especially with Sissoko, he's now 32. It's time to definitely move him on. I think it's time the club's definitely come to an end. Aurier's got 1 year left on his contract, and we know he's a player we can't rely on. So I think in terms of Aurier and Sissoko, it's a case of even if we don't get the fee that maybe we want, I think it's important to try and our hardest to shift him out the door. In terms of Sanchez, I think we need to get him out. I think again he's another player who I'm thinking he's been here 3 years, hasn't really improved. However, if you ask me which one of those I'd be willing to keep, if I had to keep one of them, it would be Sanchez, just because he's still young. If he's under a new manager, maybe Nuno can do something with him, and maybe he can improve under a different coaching style under Nuno. I'd still want to sell him for sure. I would rather get the money, but I think he's the only player on that list. I would think if we are going to keep him, I'd rather keep him than Aurier or Sissoko.
The thing is, I kind of disagree with that, and I think I might rather keep Serge Aurier out of those three, just because of how light we are at right back. That's the only
Yeah, but then
thing
we're leaving.
for me.
Then we're giving him away on a free.
Yeah, I mean, look, how much are we going to get for him anyway this summer?
Between 8 and 10 million, I would say.
I'd rather have Aurier and not be light at right back. You know what I mean? Obviously, we need to sign a right back or two if Aurier was to go. I mean, we need a right back even if Aurier was to stay. Probably. I know we've got Doherty and Aurier, but it's just nowhere near good enough going into a season.
Correct.
I know what you're saying, and I know I would want to sell Aurier ideally as well, but I think that with Romero, if Romero does come in, we're okay at centre back with just selling Sanchez and not bringing one in. With Aurier, I'm not too sure, man. I'm not too sure, and we need to bring in a top quality right back.
We're not gonna sell. I can't see us selling Aurier and not bring anyone in. I can't see that. I think that's an impossible situation. It's impossible. How can you be that negligent? I don't think we would be. I can't.
We've done it before.
I can't imagine us selling Aurier and not Britain. We can't.
We've done it before. We sold Kyle Walker. We only had Trippier there, and who else did we have?
Signed Aurier.
And we signed Aurier. Yeah,
Trippier and Aurier. We did sell when we sold Trippier. We didn't replace him. That's true. We went into the season with Aurier and Foyth, but according to Eccleshare, Nuno sees Matt Doherty as expendable. That's what he said. He says many players. He says, for instance, it is assumed Nuno will want to keep Matt Doherty because of their success at Wolves. However, the new manager might value a familiar face. However, it's forgotten that Nuno actually sanctioned the deal that allowed Doherty to join Tottenham a year ago because he wanted a more comfortable, progressive option at right back. If the right offer came in, the expectation is that Nuno would sanction a sale again. So I can't
even more so then. Like if both of our right backs are up for sale and there's like no real rumours. Yes, there's rumours about Tomiyasu, but that seems to be slowed down at the moment. So there's nothing going on there. There's no other right backs that are properly linked with us.
I know.
And like we got 2 weeks to a season now, and both of our right backs are up for sale.
Yep.
I mean the right back situation to me seems a mess at the moment.
It's a lot more. Dive than just 2 right backs up for sale. According to this article, the majority of the squad are up for sale. That's what he's saying. He's saying the Sissoko, Aurier, and Sanchez have been told to move on, but the only players who are not up for sale, he's saying, is Kane, Son, Lloris, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Dele, Davis, and Bergwijn. Everyone else is up for sale.
Interesting. Even Lucas Moura is up for sale.
Even Lucas Moura. He said Lucas Moura is considered
but only if a big offer comes in.
If a good offer comes in, he'll sell him. So, I mean, it's not. I think it's not just about those 3 players. A lot of the players at the moment are up for sale, which is considering how close we are to the season, how unsettled must the squad be right now with 2 weeks to go? You should be really starting to get in with the manager's tactics and start being like in pre-season. You're supposed to use that time to get fit on the pitch and also know your role in the team and how to play within the team.
Especially under a new manager.
Exactly, and we're here trying to sell our whole squad. And we don't know the players don't know if they're going to be involved next season or not. That probably has a massive effect on their mentality. It's like, well, why would I try that extra bit? Why would I try that extra bit in the double sessions and whatnot to really get fit? Whatnot if I don't know if I'm even going to be here in a few weeks' time? Like, what is it in it for me right now? Like, I think at the moment we're still a mess. As much as everyone was happy and whatever with Paratici coming in and Nuno. Well, look, at the moment we're still a mess because we don't know what we're doing. We don't know who we want, who we don't want. Nuno's still assessing the squad, and which is part of the reason why it was so important to get him in early, and we've appointed him so late, and now we're still playing catch up. So whereas everyone else in the top 4 pretty much has very, very settled teams, very settled squads, settled managers. None of the managers are under threat or anything. Everyone's settled. They're just focused on improving their team. They're focused on getting players through the door who they know can fill in gaps which have been missing last season. Whereas Spurs, we're just we're basically an open car boot sale at the moment, and we can't even focus yet fully on getting players in we want until we know exactly who we don't want. And at the moment, it seems like we don't know who we don't want at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the right back situation, I'd be happy for Aurier and Doherty both to go if we can bring in both. I think the perfect right back options for us would be Tomiyasu and Dumfries. One attacking right back, one defensive right back. Mix and match to who we're playing against. I mean, those two would actually be such an upgrade at right back, and like I said, you can mix and match to the opposition. Dumfries has got a massive ceiling and a massive future ahead of him. Tomiyasu as well. So I mean, those two were the two that we should be looking at surely, and they wouldn't even cost that much money.
I think how we'll go is we'll sell Aurier, and I think Doherty is going to end up staying because I think we signed him last season 15 million.
Yeah.
We gave him a 4-year deal, so I don't think Levy's going to accept anything less than 15 million.
I reckon 10 maybe.
Maybe a slight loss. So right now, do I see anyone actually coming in for him? I think it's difficult to see that. I think Aurier, even though Spurs fans who watch him week in, week out will know that he's a bit of a loose cannon and whatnot, I think people still see a lot of quality in him. Even Spurs fans see quality in him and what he can bring to a team. And I think whereas our demands on our expectations of a right back are quite high, I think other clubs would see him as an acceptable option. Whereas Matt Doherty at the moment, the season he had, I think people just see him as very, very average. I think Aurier on his day is a better than average right back, but Doherty at the moment hasn't proven that for Spurs.
Do you think not like a Norwich or a Brighton would be happy with Doherty in like a mate-weight deal for either an Aarons or a Lamptey or something like that?
Maybe. I mean, I'd love to think yes, but it would require. I would think that would require, because if they're asking. First of all, Brighton were asking 40 between 40 and 50 million. So you're then looking at like 35 million plus Doherty for Lamptey. Aaron's, they're looking for 30 million. So you're looking at like 20 million plus Doherty. I mean, I would love it if they accepted that. I think that would be a good deal for us. But whether Norwich see that as maybe they'll just want the straight cash and get their own replacement in, they'd probably refer that.
But obviously, if it goes down to like the wire, right down to the end of the window, and it's like Max Aarons tries to, let's say this is all hypothetical, obviously, there's no real talk of it, but Max Aarons tries to push to a deal late in the window. He knows Tottenham are interested. Maybe they'll get in Doherty, because look, for Norwich, he would be an all right quality there.
Yeah, but maybe they would rather develop a player, for example, signing a player from the Championship who has potential rather than getting an average Premier League fullback who doesn't really fit their system. Because I don't think Doherty would fit the way Norwich play. They like to play very offensive fullbacks and stuff, and I don't know if Doherty would fit that. He maybe would fit. I tell you, who would fit. He would fit like a Burnley, something like that, or who else is in the Premier League right now who like isn't the like a Newcastle, something like that. A team who isn't the most offensive.
Maybe Everton with Rafa Benitez.
Maybe I don't think Everton would be interested in him, but I think I think Burnley would be the perfect.
Did Everton have it right back?
They had Coleman, and then they were kind of having Holgate and they were kind of Godfrey kind of rotating.
They're making these silly signings, Everton, at the moment. You know, Andros Townsend, Damari Gray. I mean,
well, you got to remember Andros Townsend played under Rafa at Newcastle, and he was great for him for those 6 months. Yeah. So maybe he is a player who we think he could trust.
But at the end of the day, he's a player that got released from Crystal Palace. And he's signing for Everton, which is nuts to me.
It is pretty crazy because he wasn't that great at Palace. He was all right, but he wasn't like unbelievable.
Apart from that goal against Man City.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Palace fans actually like him, but I don't think he was never, a player who he never got like, he very rarely even got 5 goals in a season. You know what I mean? So. He wasn't exactly a winger who was very effective in the final third. He still had the same problems he had at Spurs, pretty much.
Probably had about average of 5 shots a game and 5 goals season. To be honest,
his best spell in his career was probably that Newcastle spell under Rafa, I would say.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe when he first broke into the Tottenham team.
No, because under Rafa, he was actually getting goals and assists quite regularly. I remember the last day of the season as well against Spurs. He battered us that day. He was
so desperate to score a goal that day.
Yeah, I remember.
He was so desperate.
He was unreal.
From everywhere.
He was unbelievable. I remember that day.
That's Andros Townsend in a nutshell. He can run for miles and miles and miles, but his end product's always been poor.
Yeah, and I think he's at an age now. He's 30 years of age, I think. So it's never really going to change, is it?
No.
You get what you know you're going to get with Andros at the nowadays.
Let's move on. Charlie Eccleshare, there's more updates from him, and he says Galatasaray have made a season-long loan bid for Japhet Tanganga with no option and no obligation to buy. It was reported yesterday as well that they wouldn't be that interested in the Galatasaray loan. They'd rather him go to a British club on loan. I mean, do you think this is going to happen?
He does go on to say because Tanganga is a academy product, he would rather actually stay and fight for his place. However, if it's clear that that there's not going to be many minutes for him next season, then he would seriously consider the offer. So I think at the moment he probably is going to say he's probably going to turn it down. But I think later on in the window, if there's not many other options or good options, then I think he will. It will happen. I think there's a big possibility it will happen because I don't think there's going to be that many minutes for him for Spurs next season.
Would you rather him fight for the right back spot or Doherty? Doherty,
I think. Unfortunately,
just because Tanganga's not too natural there. He has had some good performances at right back, some okay performances, let's say, just above average. But
he just doesn't convince. He doesn't.
Yeah,
convince me.
I agree with you.
Convince me as a fullback.
I'd like to see him at centre back more, like maybe in the Conference League and in the early rounds of the cups or what have you.
Yeah, I would like to. I would like to, but when you've got options and we want to bring in 2 centre backs, it's still going to be very difficult for him because then you've also got Rodon and Dyer on top of that, and if Sanchez stays as well, so it's difficult to see him getting regular minutes and regular game time. I know he did get some game time in Europa League last season, but still wasn't that much. And I know a lot of people are desperate for Tanganga to do well, and so am I. I think he's a promising defender, but I still think he needs a proper season playing first team football regularly, and then we can see what he's really made of. Because it's hard to judge a player when they get so little game time.
Yeah,
and I think as well, the managers see what they see in training, and if they were that convinced that he was going to be the next big thing or something, they would play him a lot more, I think. And the fact that he only gets minutes here and there shows that the managers don't think right now he's ready to step up to those roles.
What are you thinking about Ollie Skipp? Because he was mentioned in the article saying he could be considered for another loan move this season.
Yeah.
I'm really confused about that one, because I thought he was, after his season last year, he's come back, he's looked really good in pre-season. I thought he was one that was going to be fighting for that role in centre mid next year at the club.
Yeah, so the quote from Eccleshare goes like this: says the uncertainty over whether players like Sissoko can be shipped out also has a knock-on effect on other players such as Ollie Skipp. That Spurs would like to keep this summer rather than send out on loan, but it will depend on who they are able to sell and also who they are able to bring in. Skipp too, we'll find out more in the coming weeks as Tottenham work their way through pre-season. A new head coach has more of a chance to look at his players. There's a great deal of interest in Skipp from Premier League clubs and abroad should he become available for loan. For me, look, I would like Spurs to have this mentality. As I was saying this to Josh the other week on the watch along, I would really like Spurs to have this mentality, like of not being so concerned about who they can ship out and actually being concerned with who's the best available players to play. Why would we be concerned about whether we can ship out Sissoko to decide whether we play Ollie Skipp or not? What should be the decision is Ollie Skipp is staying and Sissoko is not going to be in our plans whether he leaves or not. If he doesn't leave, he's going to be in the reserves and we're not using him. Why we are thinking that we have to... Ollie Skipp's future depends on whether we can shift out a dead player like Sissoko, as if Sissoko deserves more game time or is a better option than Ollie Skipp, is mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling to me. That should not be the decision. But this is how the club operates. The club operates in a way that they think Sissoko is on 95 grand a week and he's still at the club, and he's an established international, so we have to use him instead of a hungrier, potentially more talented player like Ollie Skipp. That's how the club sees it. Whereas bigger clubs like Man United or a Man City or whatever, they don't see it that way. They see it as we're going to use what we think is the best option right now, regardless of age and whatnot. And if we can't ship the player that we want to ship, what we're going to do is just not use him, and that's it. If he's going to, fine. If we can't shift him, you're just going to be in the reserves, and simple as that. We're not going to still continue to use you just because you're here, and that's what frustrates me. Why are we concerned about? Why is Skipp's future tied to Sissoko? It shouldn't be anything to do with it.
It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's ridiculous. And also, they're not even looking like to bring in any money for Sissoko either. Like, you're going to get what, like 5 million maximum for Sissoko, 10
Has he
million
got 2
max.
years or 1 year left?
I'm pretty sure he has 1 year. Let me just check that. But either way, like, no one's going to spend on him. No one's going to spend on him. He's 32
I think clubs in France, considering he was at the Euros and stuff, and he's still highly thought of in
his
France.
Contract dies in 23.
So 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think you can probably get between 5 and 10 million. I think.
Who signed off on tying down Sissoko to a contract until he's 35 or 34? Whatever.
Yeah, I remember at the time I was thinking it was a bit odd.
Well,
It was
Mourinho the manager?
I think it was Mourinho who did it. I think it was during the time where he was actually playing quite well.
Right at the beginning of last season.
I think it was actually before that. I think it was the season where Poch got sacked. I think that was the season he signed it.
What, when Mourinho and Sacramento went into the dressing room being like, oh, Sissoko's the biggest influence in the dressing room. And then they were like, oh no. And then they signed him up to a contract.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's when it was, if I remember rightly. I think that's when he signed the contract.
But either way, yeah, Ollie Skipp is in the top 4 best centre mids at the club right now. You got to say that. Højbjerg, Ndombele, Lo Celso, then Skipp.
Actually, it was Pochettino who signed him.
Oh, it was Poch.
It was September. It was right beginning of the season where he got sacked. he signed a new contract.
That doesn't... What, till he's 34? That's nuts, though.
Yeah.
Nuts. That doesn't sound like Pochettino business, because he's always
Well,
looking
to
for
be
young
fair,
and fresh players.
at that time, it was just after we had got to the Champions League final, and he was a big part of that, wasn't he? Because
but
we were
still,
relying on him a lot.
Give him a 1 or 2 year extension. Don't give him a 4-year contract or whatever it is.
Well, it was a 1 year extension in his current
Right.
contract, so that's what
I
it
see.
was. Probably extra money and whatnot, but. I think Ollie Skipp, I completely agree. Right now, he's the one who's hungrier. He's a homegrown player. He's clearly shown he's ready to take on that responsibility, and I think he's shown a lot of quality on the ball in his passing range and everything like that. I just think Ollie Skipp should be part of the first team this season, and we shouldn't be looking at loaning him out. We should be looking at developing him and getting him acclimatised with us to the Premier League football. And the fact that he's dependent on who we can ship out is a bit frustrating to me, because I don't want us to be keeping Sissoko and then Sissoko getting more minutes than Ollie Skipp. That doesn't make more sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Or even worse, I don't want to see us keep Sissoko and then loan out Ollie Skipp, and all of a sudden another Premier League club or whatever is benefiting from having Ollie Skipp in their team, and we're stuck with Sissoko. How does that make sense?
Makes no sense.
How does that make
whatsoever.
sense?
It
Just
makes no
because we
sense.
can't ship him. If we can't ship him, fine. Just don't use him and use the player that is better and hungrier. That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, completely agree. Let's talk about Ryan Sessegnon now, because there's been an update on him from last night. And they've said that Ryan Sessegnon has a massive future at Spurs. Him and Nuno have sat down, they've spoken together, and apparently Sessegnon is going to be quite heavily used this season for Tottenham Hotspur. They're not looking to ship him out on loan. And the only reason we haven't seen him around is because he did get a bit of an injury, so he hasn't been able to show Nuno what he can actually do on the training ground yet. But he is quite favoured by Nuno, and he is going to be used quite a lot. It's just a shame he's been held back by this injury, and he won't be back until just about when the season's starting. Yeah,
again, it's a player who EchoShare says that Nuno's a big fan of, and he's going to keep him around. So I think that's good. That's promising. It's a big shame that he's got another injury. He seems to be a player who does pick up quite a few injuries, doesn't he? He came to Spurs injured. It took him a while to get fully fit. And he had those injuries at Hoffenheim as well. Yeah, and he had a big injury at Hoffenheim, ruled him out for a few months. And now he's got another injury, which is apparently he's in a battle to be fit for the first game of the season. So, seeing as he's in a battle, he's definitely not going to be involved probably until September, which is frustrating. So that's a shame. But if we can get him fully fit again, and we can get him back to his best and fully involved, then I think he's got a promising future at Tottenham, and I think it's positive that Nuno's a big fan of him and wants him around, because it shows he believes in him, he believes in his quality, and maybe he thinks he can bring the best out of him, which is good. Because I think I'd rather Reguilon and Sessegnon are battling out together than Ben Davies. Because I think, for me, Ben Davies as a left back in a back four, I just don't know if I don't know if he's up to it anymore. I really don't. I think defensively he's still decent, but I think if you're really wanting to play an attacking system with flying fullbacks, I think when Davies was 24, 25 when he was young, he still had a lot of energy in his legs. I think he wasn't the quickest, but he could get up and down the pitch just about well enough to make an impact. But nowadays, I just feel like he doesn't have as much energy as he used to. It's very difficult for him to be as attacking as he used to be. Look, I get that, but you can play a defensive left back. But I felt last year when Reguilon got injured, I thought when he came in, he did pretty well, Ben Davies, from left back. I think for the most part he did well, and I think that when it started to go wrong is when he just kept getting overused, overplayed. I think if he plays the odd game here and there, I think he's fine, Ben Davies, but obviously you don't want him starting week in, week out. That's the problem. But I think Ben Davies is good to have around the squad, because he'll be fighting for that left back spot, which Reguilon has it on his own right now. And also, he can come into a back three as well, play that left side of a back three. So I think he's a good player to have around. Yeah, I'm just not that confident anymore with Davies. But you not think he did well when he came in for the injured Reguilon last year? There were some games he did well. There were some games he did well, and I think the way that Mourinho played a lot of the time suited him, because he was quite deep, and he was playing quite in a position where he didn't have to move over the halfway line too much. Aurier was bombing forward. Exactly. So I think that helped him. But now, if Nuno, it depends how Nuno wants to play. But I just feel like when Davis was tasked to be more offensive, he got caught out so many times, and I don't think he has that ability as much as he used to. Because I think he actually used to be quite a decent attacking fullback. I think I remember one season where he got quite a few assists, and he was actually quite a decent goal threat, and he created a few chances. But I feel like I'd feel like he's not as athletic as, and even though he's not that old, he's still like 28, 29, he's bordering on 30. I just don't think he has the energy of maybe especially what other fullbacks have. And for a player who was never the quickest, now he's even losing a bit of that speed, which was just about keeping him pace. That's where I think issues arise with Davis.
I get that, but you can utilise him in different ways. I still think he's a good option to have like in the squad. Obviously you don't want him to be starting week in week out.
I think in a back three he can play well in a back. A left centre back I've got no issue with him, and even as a left wing back I think he can do a decent job because he would have more cover when he goes forward, so he has more license to go forward. But I just feel like in a back four as a left back I'm just not that confident about him anymore, to be honest. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what you guys think out there. I mean, the link is in the community section to come on and have your say. Is there anyone waiting at the moment? Yeah. All right, let's get some.
There is. Okay, awesome.
All right, we'll get you on in a second. Is there any other last minute? Steven Bergwijn, actually, Charlie Eccleshare was talking about, saying that he's a player that Spurs hold in very high regard. Ajax have been interested, but there's been no bid as of yet. I mean, Bergwijn, from the friendlies, looked like he's come back really fit. With a mission and with a point to prove, it looks like.
Yeah, he does. He looks a lot leaner. He looks a lot sharper. And I'm liking the look of Bergwijn. He still needs to be more effective in the final third and make better decisions. But I feel like Bergwijn at the moment is a player that Spurs, I think considering his age, considering how long he's been in the club, I think he's one we still hold a lot more hope on. The only thing with Bergwijn I would say is when he gets into the final third, I actually think from what I've seen, his crossing is actually pretty good. He's actually got a pretty good delivery in that sense, and he can put a pinpoint cross in, for which is underrated. But what I think he needs to work on is when he gets into shooting positions, he doesn't have much finesse in his shooting technique. He likes to shoot with a lot of power, and he has good power on his shots. But I feel like when a situation requires a bit of composure and a bit of finesse, just pass it into the corner and stuff. He just found it wanting.
I think the word is rash.
Yeah, it's a bit rash. And I think he needs to work on that. He needs to work on his technique in that sense. And he needs to work on having a bit more finesse, a bit more guile in his play. But I do think he's a player physically, dribbling-wise, strength-wise, he's still got a lot of potential. He's got a lot to give. And I like the look of him. And I think in the right situations, he can be very, very effective. There's just a few things he needs to work on in his game, but I think he can, and I think he's already starting to improve in other facets. He's still young as well, 23, so he's still got a bit of time to improve, and I'm sure Nuno can get the best out of him. But it's interesting to see Lucas Moura saying he said that it says here the paragraph here from Eccleshare says making a similarly positive impression. Now is following on an article about Delhi. Making a similarly positive impression was Bergwijn, whom Spurs would like to keep hold of. Ajax interested but have not made an offer. The preference is to sell Moura. To sell Moura looks to be good news for the Dutchman, but the arrival of Gil means the competition on the left-hand side for that position is going to be intensified. Bergwijn will hope he's done enough in pre-season to feature in Nuno's plans. He certainly looked sharp cutting in from the left on Wednesday, which he did. It's worth remembering that he was on the right hand side last season when Spurs enjoyed their best run of form, which is true, when he was playing that more defensive winger kind of role and helping out the team. But what do you think of the fact that Spurs are more willing to sell Lucas than Bergwijn?
I think it makes sense, to be honest. Just look at the two players' ages.
I know, but judging from what you've seen maybe on during pre-season and maybe even from the back end of last season when Moura was having a good run, do you think that's sensible to be selling Lucas right now? Or would you like maybe to see what Nuno can do with him?
I would like to see what Nuno can do with him, but when you're looking at the squad, when you're looking at the ages of the squad, I mean, he wouldn't be the first to go, but he would definitely be. He needs to go in the next couple of years, doesn't he? Assuming his age and the value that we can get for him. So, I mean, Lucas Moura isn't one of those indispensable players where you have to keep at all costs. If you get a good offer for him, he goes. And that's the only way he goes, if you get an exceptional offer which you can't refuse at the end of the day. And I think with Steven Bergwijn, he's got the ceiling to become a very, very, very good player. I think he's got a lot of attributes that can work really well in the Premier League. He's got age on his side as well.
Are you convinced yet he could be better than Lucas? It's difficult to say.
It's difficult to say. You can't really say right now because Lucas Moura's got some attributes that I think that Steven Bergwijn probably will never have. But I think that Steven Bergwijn might have the ceiling to be providing for us on a more consistent basis that Lucas Moura ever did. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think Bergwijn has potential to be more effective in the final third. But in terms of actually being a better player, like I don't think Bergwijn's ever going to be able to dribble like Lucas. I don't think that's ever possible. I don't think Bergwijn's ever going to be able to wriggle out of tight situations like Lucas can. Lucas is just a genius and he's world class at that. He could do that in his sleep. Bergwijn's never going to be able to do that. But in terms of getting into scoring positions, getting in the final third and getting goals and assists, I think he has the potential to be more effective than Lucas.
I think so. And, Bergwijn likes to find that space more often. I think he even can dribble from deep and, he can have power and precision in his delivery and his dribbling. So I think Steven Bergwijn can definitely be an asset for us moving forward. But you got to remember with Lucas Moura as well, like he's been here for quite a long time and he's never found that proper consistency in his game.
No, but the thought process was with Nuno coming in, potentially he could be the best manager for him.
Could be.
Just because he's dealt with, like, for example, Adama Traore, who's got similar skill sets, similar attributes to Lucas. And
same can be applied for Steven Bergwijn.
No, I don't think so. I think it's different. I think Bergwijn is a bit different to someone like Adama Traore. I think Adama Traore is that real powerhouse dribbling ability and who can really just burst past you like you're not there. I don't think Bergwijn quite has that the same way Lucas does it.
I think he can have that. Not as much as Lucas. I don't think he has the dribbling ability like Lucas, but I definitely think that the more Bergwijn progresses his game, the more he kind of gets coached into it. I think he can add that to his game. I really believe that.
I don't know. I don't think he has that ability. I'm not sure. I think he's just a different kind of player. I don't think he has that ability. I think he has to work harder than Lucas Moura to beat players, I think. Despite the fact he's got good strength about him, he's a strong player and he's got good pace, but he's not in terms of dribbling ability. I don't think he's got that exceptional dribbling ability that Lucas has. I don't see it just yet. Maybe he can develop it, but I think at the moment someone like Adama Traore and Lucas Moura are a different level to Bergwijn in that sense. But in terms of Adama Traore, like his attributes and ability were unbelievable, but his problem was his effectiveness and decision making in the final third, and that's the same thing Lucas had a problem with, and he was able
does.
And Adama, he was able for last couple seasons ago, he was able to get the best out of Adama Traore in an attacking sense, and he was actually starting to provide goals and assists. Although last season he kind of reverted back, you would have to say that one season he did really get that effectiveness. And could he bring that out of Lucas Moura? I'd like to see if he could. But yeah, obviously if we get a mouth-watering offer for him, it's worth selling him. But I'm also quietly looking forward to maybe Lucas being a bit more of an effective player under Nuno than maybe he was under previous managers. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, look, he did find his best spell under Jose Mourinho playing from a 10. And I think that might be his most effective position. I think that's the most effective position he's seen at Tottenham Hotspur so far.
Yeah, I just don't think we can afford to play him there.
Yeah, it's another thing.
I don't think
that's
so,
another thing.
Because I think we've got too many players in that position where if you're playing Lucas in a 10, then what, are you going to play Lo Celso or Dele on the right? It's not going to happen.
Well, Lo Celso a bit deeper, and yeah, maybe Dele and Lucas fighting for that spot, but who knows?
Then who you playing? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not convinced that Lucas is our best. I think whether it's his best position, is he our best number 10? I don't know.
Our best number 10 at the moment, you got to say, is probably Dele. I mean, who can you say our best number 10 is? We don't have a proper number 10.
I don't know.
I mean, I think that we've seen more in pre-season playing without a number 10, more of a 4-3-3.
Yeah, that's what I think. And I think that's how we're going to go forward. I think with the front three kind of being a bit how do you say, interchangeable.
Yeah, and I think that's what we were looking at under Jose Mourinho. We thought that's what our best formation. Cast your mind back a year going into last season. We thought 4-3-3 was the way to go, with Højbjerg sitting, Lo Celso and Tanguy in the middle.
Yeah,
and then
it just became very predictable but when we pretty much had one element of attack was get the ball to Kane, he plays a through ball to Son, and he goes through to score. Whereas I think under Nuno we're going to be a bit more unpredictable. With Lucas and Bergwijn interchanging, so one of them turning on the right, the left, with in whoever up being up front, whoever it is, being able to add that maybe a bit more unpredictability. So that's what I'm hoping for than it was under Jose.
Yeah, but in terms of the Bergwijn-Lucas, back to the Bergwijn-Lucas debate, I do feel that Bergwijn, obviously with his age, he's more mouldable. Lucas Moura, kind of leopards don't change their spots, really.
When he's at that age,
when he's at that age. So I think that, look, we all know Lucas Moura has got brilliant attributes, but he's never, like I said, never done it on a consistent basis. Poch couldn't get it out of him. Jose couldn't really get it out of him. Can Nuno get it out of him? I'm not too sure either. Like on a real consistent basis. I just
feel like Nuno might have a better chance to do it than
maybe
Mourinho. And
we'll have to wait how it plays out. But by no means, I think, do I want Lucas Moura sold. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying there's a lot of players that need to go before him. That's the honest truth.
That's definitely true. Like a lot of the squad, so many players are up for sale. It's a bit ridiculous at the moment. But I think I understand it because it needs to happen. But this should all be dealt with so much earlier. And I mean, as we keep saying, it all goes back to the hierarchy and how they faffed around, and now we're paying the price for it because this needed to happen. This massive squad shift and rebuild in
2017, 2018.
But I'm not even just talking about this summer. Obviously it needs to happen, and when I see Eccleshare's update saying all these players are up for sale. Obviously I'm happy about it. I'm just frustrated that we've left it so late. We left ourselves a mountain to climb in terms of getting ready for the new season, and it's all so preventable. It was all so preventable. If we signed Nuno as soon as the season ended, which we could have if we really wanted him, like at that stage, if we were more decisive at that point and then got him through the door, like we could have had all this decided a month ago. It's all could have been decided a month ago, and now we're just playing catch-up, and that's all down to Levy. I'm sorry, that's all Levy's fault that we're in this situation, and he has to take blame for that.
Of course he does, like many other things. We've got a new member in Mike Hawk. Welcome to the Gold family. Big up yourself. And we've got a super chat here from Essa Al-Shamari saying, morning, lads. Hope it's good news today. You and me both, mate. You and me both. If you want some good news, maybe go over to Daniel Levy's house, take him captive and put him under Brian Daigle's dungeon. And talking about attacking wingers, we've got Brian Daigel back on the line. Brian Daigel.
Come on, Brian.
I thought
how's
you
it
were
going, Brian?
Way there when you said attacking someone else. I thought
I didn't want to get you in trouble with the police, Brian.
Shabbat shalom to you both.
Shabbat shalom, mate. How are you?
Shabbos, Brian.
We're all good. We're all good. Like I said yesterday, I got all excited coming on, and then I realised the stream had ended. I was like, "How are they talking?" so I made sure damn well that I'm first on today. But yeah, good to be on, guys.
What do you want to talk about today? What's your pressing subjects playing on your mind?
I mean, I've heard people talking about Japhet Tanganga going out on loan, and I'm so dead against it.
Yeah,
so dead against it. I mean, especially going to Turkey. I mean, there's going to learn a trade, and when you've got someone who's quite injury prone at the moment, the one place you don't want to send them to is like a league like Turkey, where it's very, very fierce. And it's like we're selling centre backs. We sold Toby. Why are we getting rid of Japhet when we've got nothing coming in? Why are we making
Romero's coming in, Brian? Romero's coming in, mate.
Of course he is, and I'm David Beckham. Of course he is. We've all been down this path. Believe me,
it's uncanny, Brian. You and David Beckham, absolutely uncanny, mate.
Well, mate, wait till I come back and we play the football game, then you see the real. But yeah, it's I just don't get it. Why are we making our weakest part of the field even weaker before we even talk about bringing in replacements? And from what I heard, and I saw you mentioning that I saw a rumor that Skipp may even go out on loan. I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah,
that's mind-boggling to me. That's mind-boggling.
How do you reading Eccleshare's article on that bit on Ollie Skipp? He says that Skipp's future is tied to who we can bring in and who we can sign, and it's rely on us being able to shift the likes of Sissoko and stuff like that. But what's your opinion on why would a player like Ollie Skipp's future be tied to someone like getting rid of a player like Sissoko? Surely, in that instance, you would even if Sissoko can't be shifted, you'd always want to play Ollie Skipp ahead of him.
Well, that goes down to one man and one man only, and it's the parasite. But it gets to the point that literally, someone said yesterday when I was on Tommy's stream, I think it was the Yig kid, when he said this guy has the balls to try and get 30 million for Sissoko when he won't pay 50 for Romero. I mean, you look at it, it's got to the point where I thought about it yesterday. Financially viable, and if I can get a cheap deal. I mean, there's just no correlation. I don't see how people's futures, especially one as bright as Ollie Skipp's, is even spoken about in the same breath as depending on if we can get Sissoko out. We can get Sissoko out if you lower the bloody price.
Exactly.
Yeah, and spot on. Spot on, mate.
And it makes no sense to me why they'd ever be tied. But reading Eccleshare's article in terms of he's saying the majority of the Tottenham squad right now, their future is uncertain. There are only a few players who Tottenham are definitely looking to keep next season, like Kane, Son, Lloris, Bergwijn, Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Dele. Now we're 2 weeks away from the season, Brian. How much do you reckon this is unsettling the squad? The fact that a majority of the squad don't even know whether they're wanted or not, and when we're 2 weeks away from the season starting, like surely that is going to play on a lot of their players' minds whether they even wanted here.
I think at any other club, this would be so unsettling and so soul destroying, whatever. But like I said, we've had 20 years of there's no accountability. There's no nothing. It just seems to be it's just awful. It's just I don't know where to go. It's like literally there's no standards. This has gone on. We keep going around on this merry-go-round, and people are now like, Paratici is here. He's going to save the day. He's going to come on his white horse and make everything all beautiful. Well, he can only do what he's been given with. Like Bob Spur continually says this about Steve Hitchen. He won't have a bad word said about Steve Hitchen, because if you look at it, Steve Hitchen went out and spoke to Skriniar. Steve Hitchen went out and did everything. But when it came to the numbers, it got let down. And even here now, Paratici, we know, has had a problem getting players out, but now he's got a bigger problem trying to get players. It's literally he's picking the team again. It's good that Nuno wants these players, but we're only going to get the ones that Levy will agree to pay the money to. It's just shambolic.
Yeah, and also it all stems as well. This whole situation of us being in this position right now all stems from Levy of how we faffed around in the managerial search, because we're only in this situation like if in theory, Brian, I think we can both agree, right? These players being up for sale, I don't think we're not in a disagreement with that. I think we're happy Sissoko and Aurier Sanchez and half the squad, to be honest, are up for sale, because I think we need this rebuild, right? But you got to say the big issue of having half the squad up for sale is the fact that we're 2 weeks away, and if we didn't faff around so much when the manager search, all of this could have been dealt with a month ago, and maybe we could be going into the new season a bit more settled and a bit more knowing what we're doing. And the fact that we are in this situation where where the half the squad are up for sale with 2 weeks to go to the season, that's a big problem, and that all comes down to how Levy has dealt with it.
So the way I look at it is, I would understand Levy digging his heels in and wanting to get the best price if it's someone like Kane. let's just say Kane. We could all understand why he's like no, or apparently no, we're not selling. But when you're trying to get rid of so many people, and they're causing their deadwood, they're rotting, their personalities and whatever, their poison, their spewing, you take a loss on these guys just to get them out the door.
Mm-hmm.
I understand your marquee players. You make a marquee price. That part I completely get, and I understand. But the part where you're trying to get rid of the deadwood to try and get money out or players out, so you get money coming in, so you can go and get the players you want. I just don't understand why it doesn't say, right, listen, we need to take a cut on these players. We need them off the wage bill. I think Sissoko's close to 90 grand a week for doing nothing on the pitch.
Not sure why that keeps happening. But no, I completely agree with what you're saying, Brian. I think you're absolutely right. When you have players like Sissoko and Aurier and stuff, it's all the most important thing is, even if it is at a loss, you just got to get them out because we need to free up space.
Especially with people like Aurier that have said they want to leave. They've openly come out and said they want to leave. So it's like you're digging your heels in because you don't want to. You don't want to bow to the players' demands and go, okay, yeah, you go and have your ego dented. You're not getting your ego dented. You're getting someone out of the team. You're getting them out of the team.
And listen to this segment from the article EchoShare posted before. He says he was obviously talking about the importance of getting the deadwood out the door and whatnot. He says doing so will not be straightforward, even though Spurs do not pay high wages as high as many of their traditional Big Six rivals. Many of their players are still on salaries that far outstrip what teams in other countries can afford. And here's the most important bit. He says, and many sources believe, based on recent history, that Chairman Daniel Levy will expect unrealistically high transfer fees to ship these players out. And that is the most annoying and disheartening thing when you're talking about trying to refresh the squad. Levy is going to be the one holding us back.
So I'm trying to go about this a different way now. I mean, as much as everyone loves the Daigle rant and as much as I love going absolutely batshit crazy when it comes to this man, I think it's time I start talking like this and start educating and start literally using the 14 years of evidence we have compared to me shouting and screaming and trying to be funny. It's like we've gone on this merry-go-round with players in and players out. We're looking at it and how he got 18 million for Vibber to Stoke. That's great. Well done. But you can't do that with every single player. Just like you can't keep buying £5 million Dele Allis. Yeah. You can't keep thinking that all the time this is how it works, and because you got one deal at this price. Live off another deal he lives off of is the Rafa van der Vaart deal, where he managed to get that on the last day, and oh my God, what a shock to the world, and that was. But it doesn't work every time, and we've seen that your methods fail time after time after time. And even when people are saying, even the clubs, no, listen, I'm not even going to bother going to Tottenham, even if I am interested, because I'm not going to get any kind of deal that I have within my kind of scope, unless you're one of the big boys going for one of our marquee players, then you might come and have a dance with Levy. But otherwise, literally, you look at Sissoko, Aurier, Dyer, they're not even bothering coming for them. Whether we don't know if people are interested. I bet you there's teams across the world that sit down and have their objectives with the manager and say, listen, okay, who do you want? Who can we go for? There's probably people that say, do you know what? I do want one of these deadwood at Tottenham, but there's just no point going in for them because it'll just blow my budget to pieces and it's just not worth it. And how can we operate like that?
I completely agree. It's not a way you can operate if you want to be a club seriously challenging and being seriously challenging for the top four positions.
Poch said the exact same things. Poch said the exact same things. You know, we read these quotes out yesterday on the stream yesterday morning, and Poch was saying pretty much not in the exact same words, but the same idea as what you were saying. Exactly the same.
But I hate to say, I mean, I hate to bring this team into a stream of ours, but you look at Arsenal and look what they did with Ozil and whatever. It's just like, listen, let's just pay your contract off. Off you go. Bye-bye. We're not even going to bother with you. Why don't we just, with anyone that's coming close, just say, do you know what? We can't get any money for you. Off you go. You're not in the team. Just free up that space. Free up that cash and then start doing it. With some of these players, I think we got to do it because we just are acting like a Mickey Mouse club when it comes to transfers yet again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's facts, and it's very frustrating. It really is very frustrating. We've just had an update from the Telegraph on Harry Kane, and they say with City experienced frustration in their attempts to sign Harry Kane, Jack Grealish has now emerged as their number one target. I mean, Fabrizio Romano did bring us an update with Jack Grealish and Man City.
It's even bigger than that. They said Man City have bid 100 million.
For Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
So
there's been a £100 million bid from Man City for Jack Grealish.
So Brian, if this is the case, if Man City are actually going to sign Jack Grealish for 100 million, do you still think they're going to sign Harry Kane as well?
So I had this chat, and I can't remember who it was with. Now, obviously, all those rumours came out about how their finances have been absolutely, they've been cooking the books. Like Chelsea, if they get a transfer ban, they might go all out this window and think, right, if we're banned for the next 3 or 4 and we're in trouble for it, let's just go out and do it and get everything done. And to start off with, I didn't really think anything of it. But the more I think about it, if you know you've got a ban coming up, you're going to strengthen your squad so you can kind of forgo that amount of time. So whether they do, again, you've got to look at it both ways. I've said from the beginning that I think he's still going. I want to be proven wrong, and I for some reason, I still think it's going to happen. But then you've got to look at it. I don't think Harry Kane is going to be, for sure, he's not going to be one of those that throws his toys out of the pram and causes trouble or controversy. He's not that type of man, let alone player or role model. I don't think he'll do that, but he's going to be pissed off. He is going to be pissed off. And do we get a Harry Kane that was like his last Luka Modric season, where he was phenomenal before he went to Madrid? Or we just don't know. And I mean, again, he must be looking at it. This whole thing that we said before when we were signing Galini and then Gil came in was maybe we're trying to make Harry Kane look like, yeah, we're doing the business. We're actually changing our minds. And it was all looking good until it came to Romero. And then the wheels have fallen off. So even if Harry Kane had the slightest, oh, hello, it would have been like, oh, this is what I remember. This is what I know. So do you know what? There's just no way. There's two ways to look at everything always, obviously. But with this one, you can just see Harry Kane going, do you know what? I saw them making tracks, they were making waves, they were bringing a couple of players in. This Romero talk is looking good. Let's see if this happens, and then I might have a bit more confidence in staying. And then look what's happened.
You talk about the Romero deal. If it does somehow get over the line this week, for argument's sake, would you change your opinion at all on this transfer window?
No, and the reason I say no, yes, it'd be great to get him in, but why are we getting him in 2 weeks, like literally 2 weeks before the end of the start of the season? Again, Pochettino said ages ago, I want my players in early so they can get here. Obviously, we've had the problem with the Euros, the Copa America, so it's not the case of getting in early for the pre-season, but get the business done. For exact reasons like trying to keep a Harry Kane, get your business done so you can see what you're coming with. You could try it. If Romero was here a few weeks ago, who knows if we might have been able to attract more players of the caliber we wanted. But no, we just look once again like this. If he comes in fantastic, brilliant, it's an absolutely incredible addition to the squad. But it's the method of getting him in. It's the time that he gets here. It's just, unfortunately, Paratici may get him over the line, but he's had to bow to Daniel Levy's demands again.
Yeah.
And this is what apparently was going to change. And we've seen in this space of time that it hasn't, because Tomiyasu would be through the door because he was at the Olympics, but we could sign Brian Hill, who's the youngster, within a week. So every excuse we get given, it gets they're their own worst enemies.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on there. They are their own worst enemies, and I mean, what's it going to take for these lot to change and to realise to wake the fuck up? You know what I mean? Sorry for the language at this early in the morning.
NFL protests.
See you there, Brian. See you there.
Oh, mate. But honestly, do you know what? We've had to change our arrival date to England because of wife's work commitment. So I said, listen, I'm not missing the NFL. So we're coming October the 5th to the 29th. So we're actually staying for longer. But I will be there for both the NFL protests and I won't be going.
I hope you'll be there for the Lady Gaga protest as well.
I'll be any protest there during that?
Anthony Joshua protest as well. Why not?
Mate, everything that is there, anything that is going on outside the ground, outside the training ground during those 3 weeks, I am there, hands down, without fail. Doesn't matter what I have planned, I am there.
I look forward to meeting you, Brian, and thank you
Can't
so much
wait.
for coming on once again.
Good to see you,
Always a
Brian.
pleasure, boys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.
Up the Spurs,
Leave
Levy
you
out. Come on.
All right,
And
so
that was Brian Dayhill.
Yes, big breaking news from exclusive from the Telegraph. Man City make £100 million offer.
Just before you get into
Jack
it,
Grealish.
let's just bring this news to you. We're just gonna go offline for literally 1 minute. It's fine? Sure? Oh, we're fine. All right. Let's crack on with the breaking news. Go on.
Yeah, so this article comes from the Telegraph. It says Man City have made a £100 million offer for Jack Grealish as Pep Guardiola moves to complete the most expensive transfer in Premier League history. City have finally tabled the huge bid, which they hope will persuade Villa to agree a deal in the biggest move of this summer's transfer window so far. Grealish has been one of Guardiola's priority signings this summer, and after days of discussion, City have submitted a remarkable offer which would eclipse English football's previous record of Paul Pogba for 89 million. The 25-year-old is set to return for training with Villa on Monday next week after taking a break after his involvement in the Euros of England, but City are still hopeful of striking agreement over the next few days. Villa have offered Grealish a new contract which will vastly improve his currently 125 grand a week wages, and have based their summer transfer activity on keeping the talisman, but with Man City experiencing frustration in their attempt to sign Tottenham's Harry Kane, Grealish has now emerged as their number one target. Man City, Aston Villa and the player's agent were contacted, but they had declined to comment. So this one seems to have legs at the moment, and I think this represents good news for Tottenham, because I don't think they're going to sign 100 million Grealish and then spend another 150 million on Kane. So I think that if they sign Grealish, I think that rules out the move for Kane, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of
Especially
agree.
this summer.
I agree with that, but I don't get why they're going for Jack Grealish as a winger, as a marquee signing when they're looking for a striker.
Yeah, doesn't make too much sense to me. Maybe it's it's a form of saying, look, we're going to go for Grealish unless you drop your price, and maybe that's a signal to Kane, look, you got to start doing something, otherwise we're going to go for Grealish, trying to scare Kane into thinking that they're not going to go for him. But you got to think, when a player like Grealish when you're able to get a player like Grealish of the quality of Jack Grealish, I think he's still 25, he's still got many years ahead of him as well. I think as a player, you just got to get through the door. I think he's got that much quality. He's going to be a massive star for Man City. And look, Man City have played pretty much won the league last season without a striker. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. They barely played Aguero or Jesus. They pretty much played a false nine for the majority of the season. So yes, they want a striker, but I think maybe they're thinking we can get a cheaper striker and have someone like Jack Grealish to supplement the attack, and maybe that's how they're feeling.
In terms of Aston Villa, do you think the signing of Buendia, the chasing of Emil Smith-Rowe, is that all trying to supplement the Grealish loss?
No.
Do you reckon? Because the rumours of Jack Grealish going to Man City, this isn't the first we're hearing of it, is it?
Well, it's the first we're hearing an official bid.
Official bid, yeah. But
Yeah.
we've heard about the rumours for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, we all know Man City have been interested in Grealish. I don't think that has been so, because Buendia was 25 million. I think they can afford to spend 25 million without getting 100 million for Grealish.
They were chasing Smith-Rowe for 35
They were chasing Smith-Rowe as well. But you got to remember, last summer Villa spent big. Villa have money. They've got rich owners. So I don't think necessarily those deals were tied to it. But I do think now that if they now have the extra 100 million, I think maybe all of a sudden if they spend it correctly, considering they had a good season last season, improvement on when they on the season before where they nearly got relegated. They improved massively. They did end up finishing mid-table, but they were battling for Europe for a lot of it.
They had a lot of games tight into like small space of time because of they had a lot of games postponed for COVID right at the beginning, and their fixture list did get kind of really crazy at one
And
stage.
yes,
So
they're
that
gonna-
had a massive thing to do with it.
They will be losing a big talisman in Jack Grealish, obviously, who's basically their Harry Kane in that essence, and
If not more.
Huh?
If not more.
If not more, yeah, and he's a massive element to their team, and they even like at some points last season a one-man team. But if they do spend that money correctly, the fact they've also got Buendia as well, who's very, very creative and could even make up for the creativity Grealish had, then I think they could be a threat next season to the Europa League spots massively. I really think.
Yeah, I think they can be, but I still think that we've got more in our squad, and I think that the teams that did finish above, I think even Arsenal might have a bit more in their squad than Aston Villa. Although I
Depends how they spend the money.
Yeah, it's true.
Depends how they spend the money. I think
yeah,
obviously
true.
right now our squad is better than theirs, but if they spend it well, if they get like the rumours are going to get Leon Bailey and stuff, if they can spend it very, very wisely and get some big signings in,
Would you be annoyed if they signed Leon Bailey?
would I be annoyed?
Yeah, in terms of he could have come to us.
A bit. I would be a bit annoyed because I think he's a class player. I'm a big fan of Leon Bailey. I think he's going to be a good player. But I think he's also one of those players who is very good. But I think, it's hard to say because I think he's one of those players who's on the precipice of becoming he's a good player, but he's on the precipice of becoming a very good player. And it's hard to say whether he's going to make that jump. I think at the moment for Leverkusen, he's very effective. He can play the left and right. He's quite good at getting goals and assists, but he can also be quite inconsistent. So it's whether they can unlock that. But I think he's a player who, from what I've seen, is definitely worth taking a punt on.
I saw an argument the other day. I actually think it was brought up by Will Stewart. And he was saying, he was angry. He was saying, like, why the hell have we signed Brian Hill for effectively 35, 40 million when Leon Bailey's available for around the similar price? What would you say back to that argument?
I think at the moment Bailey has shown a lot more than Hill. I think we only got Hill because I think that he's a player we wanted and we see a potential, but I think obviously the fact we could put Lamela in that deal was probably a big element to it. I don't think Lamela would have been accepted to Leverkusen. So I think in that essence we saw it as an opportunity to get Lamela off the books and get a player that we think has a lot of potential. But I agree. Would I rather Bailey than Hill? Probably. I think Bailey right now is a better player. I think he's more effective, and I think he's more of a player who can make an impact right now than Hill, who I think is going to take some time to adapt and really see the best of him. Is Hill potentially a better player than Bailey? It's hard to say. It's difficult to say. I can't say right now. Yes, I think Hill has a lot of qualities which could maybe eventually lead him to being an elite player. I don't think he's an elite player right now. So it's always difficult to say how players are going to develop. But would I rather Bailey right now? Yeah, I would. But I just think the club saw an opportunity to use Lamela in a make weight, and maybe that's why we went for that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We've got another guest in the back end, Miguel Pereira.
Miguel,
how are you doing, my friend? Good. How are you?
Good to have you on, my friend.
Pretty good.
Good to have you on. Where are you calling from?
Arizona, man. The United
Arizona.
States.
The US of A. And what do you want to talk about today? What are your opinions on everything relating to Tottenham right now?
Frustrating, man. Frustrating.
What are your biggest
Super
frustrations?
frustrating.
What are your biggest frustrations right now?
Not getting the deal done, man. Not getting Romero in.
I mean, there has been a bit of talk this morning from a lot of reliable sources claiming that this is a deal that could get done potentially next week. Are you holding any thoughts about that? Do you think it will get done?
Based on past with Levy and everything, it's kind of up in the air right now, man.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to take because we've kind of been down this road before. We've been there, we've seen it, we've got the T-shirt. But I mean, I might be a bit naive right now, but I think it's actually getting done this still. I really think it's getting done. Are you just not confident whatsoever?
I have no confidence in Levy, man. I have no confidence.
So where do you think that puts us for next season? I mean, what are you looking at for next season? Where do you think we can go?
I'm hoping at least top 5, man. But the way our defense is looking, I don't know, man. It's it's one of those things where it's kind of we need to strengthen our defense. We need to get more players in. I'm hoping we get rid of either REA or Ben Davies and bring in Lamptey, man. I really want Lamptey in our squad.
Lamptey, I mean, I think they want in excess of around 40, 50 million. So I got a feeling that one might be a bit too expensive for us. I mean, we're already looking apparently at spending 50 million plus on Romero. I mean, do you really see us spending another 50 million on Tariq Lamptey?
I mean, Levy doesn't even want to put out the extra 10 million for Romero, let alone drop another 50 for Lamptey.
And
go on. I was going to say, with this breaking news that Man City have made a £100 million bid for Jack Grealish from Aston Villa. If that deal goes through, do you think that seals Kane's future for another season at least at Spurs?
I don't think so, man, because based on the past, how they were saying they wanted to get rid of certain wingers and all that, and they still don't have a striker in place with Aguero leaving. It's still up in the air for me, man. Especially if Harry Kane tries to push for a move.
Well, but can you really see Man City spending another, however many million it's going to cost to sign Harry Kane on top of 100 million?
We are talking about City, though.
Yeah, but they've never spent this kind of money before. They've never spent this kind of money before, Man City, ever. I mean,
they did get close to. Oh, go
on. No, go on.
They did get close to the Champions League, and I feel like if they had a specific number 9, especially if they had Harry Kane in, they would have gone through the line, and their ambitions are higher than ours, man.
They are. Look, that's 100% spot on. But do you think that even if they would have gone for a Harry Kane, let's say for 150 million, do you think they would have signed a Jack Grealish after that?
Yeah,
probably.
I don't think. I feel like they're still going to try to get rid of some wingers. Mostly Mahrez because he's pushing on in age. Yeah. I'm hoping Kane stays, man. I'm hoping Kane stays.
As well. I mean, I've been of the thinking that if we're going to spend a lot of money this summer, I can't see Kane staying. I think that's the Kane money that we're going to be using to sign these players. But on the flip side, I cannot see Man City spending 250 million on Jack Grealish and Harry Kane, and that's it. I just can't see them spending that much money on those two players.
Yeah, that's true, but I mean, it is City. They have deep pockets, man.
Yeah, they do. They do. But who's their record signing before this?
I think it's Rodri, 60 million.
60 million.
60,
See,
55.
they spent 60 million max on a player before. With all the money they've spent in the past, they've never spent more than that.
Didn't they spend 70 mil on Ruben Diaz?
No, he was about 45.
Makes sense. I don't know, man. Especially since they got so close to winning the Champions League final. I don't know. I feel like they might try to push for Harry Kane at least.
And what do you make of the reports coming out saying that Tottenham, the majority of the Tottenham squad right now is up for sale? And
it's a fire sale at
Tottenham. What's your opinions on that? First of all, who would you from the squad are you looking to see go? And how unsettling is that, do you think, for the squad 2 weeks before the season, knowing that their futures, a lot of them are uncertain right now?
I'm hoping we get rid of Davies. Hopefully we get rid of REA, considering he said that he doesn't want to stay here no more. Honestly, Sissoko, I've been wanting to leave for like the past 2 years. I don't know, man. It makes me nervous for the beginning of the season, considering nobody knows if they're staying, if they're going. I'm hoping it lights a fire under their feet to get, because I mean, by the way Lucas has been playing during preseason, man, it looks like he's trying to if he is gonna push for a sale, it's definitely going with the performances he's been playing in preseason. Yeah, man, I'm glad Lamela got out the door. I was super sad to see him leave with all the Rabonas and everything. The one that I did cry when he did leave, it was Toby Alderweireld. But yeah, I'm hoping we bring in some more. If we bring in Romero, I'm hoping we do push Sanchez out the door, but we're gonna need another defender as well. It's looking tough for our defense right now.
It is looking
I
tough,
definitely
but we're
agree
just
with
going to
that.
have to see how it plays out. I mean, 2 weeks till the start of the season, and then an extra month, I think, or an extra 2-3 weeks till the end of the transfer window. So there is still time left, but we are running out of time, and we're most definitely playing catch up right now. Definitely playing catch up, that's for sure. So Miguel, any more closing comments before we let you go?
One thing I did want to say is I don't understand how Levy and Lewis got their fortune from investments and all that, because the way they're investing into Tottenham is so complicated to understand how they've made their money.
I mean, look at the whole area around Tottenham. Look at the stadium. Look at the training ground. Look at all the golf courses they're acquiring. I mean, that will tell you everything you need to know. Just don't look at on the football pitch.
Yeah, that is true. Because I mean, we could have signed Grealish 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and look at what he's going for now to City. Ruben Diaz as well, Bruno Fernandes.
The list goes on. We signed Sissoko instead of Sadio Mane. Eden Hazard was in a meeting with Harry Redknapp. You know what I mean? Like everything. We could have got a lot of players through this door, and there's only one person that was holding us back, and that is Mr. Daniel Levy.
What I do like to see is Don Paratici, though. He's out here making moves, making calls. That's the only bit of hope that I have right now. Because if he wouldn't have come in during the summer, it would have been looking really rough for us right now.
But Miguel, Levy probably spends more on Paratici's phone bill than he does on a transfer window.
I'm hoping by the end of the summer we bring in at least 2 defenders, especially if we're gonna get rid of Sanchez. Yeah, man, it's super early for me, man. I gotta go. I've been staying.
All right, you go to sleep, have a rest, and don't dream about Daniel Levy. That's for sure.
Oh, never, man. I want to have a good night's rest.
Exactly.
Don't have a nightmare.
See you later, man.
Nice one, Miguel. Good to see you,
guys
mate.
have a good
Cheers for
morning.
coming on.
Come on, you Spurs. All right, who have we got next? Ben Kaufman.
Ben Kaufman, is that pronounced correctly? Hopefully I haven't butchered that.
I'll have a cappuccino, please. Cappuccino, please. How you doing, Ben?
Oh, he's muted. Is that our end? Hello, Ben?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no, I can
No,
hear you.
we can hear you. We can hear you now.
Yeah, that's me. Hello, how are you guys?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
It's that usual shit of supporting Tottenham, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Where are you calling from, Ben?
I am calling from sunny South Woodford.
South
South
Woodford.
South
Are you
Woodford
currently? Are
boys.
you taking a break? Are you at work or something? Are you taking a break from work?
I am always taking a break at work.
That coffee looks good, Ben. That coffee looks good.
I'm supposed to be making a coffee for my buddy, but I'd rather stick to you boys at the moment.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's your what do you want to say right now? What's on your mind about Tottenham?
Well, it's the usual shit of this year could have been a very good transitional season for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and we've proven ever so slightly that we are an absolute disappointment from start to finish. For God's sakes, this could have been the year where we have decided that we need to keep Harry Kane, so we need to sign the players around him to really push on for the rest of the year and maybe give us a couple of 3, 4, 5 years of success, which the Clay Hall boys, Levy and Lewis, have then proven they don't care about success. They care about how much property they're buying, which is obviously brilliant. But bloody hell, we're Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We're not Tottenham Hotspur Property FC. It's a real disappointment.
Yeah, you're gone.
I hope that we can get Mr. Romero in, because that'd be a brilliant. Because I feel like Dyer and Sanchez are actually decent centre backs, but they need a leader in between them to really say, all right, you do this, you do that, and then maybe we can start bloody defending. Get rid of Aurier because he needs to fucking go. And then maybe we can challenge for the top 4. If we don't, we fall short. We go again next season. It's all about building for the future.
Yeah, but do you think at the moment, I agree with you, it's all about building for the future, but do you think all this lost time we've had during this whole summer, faffing around with managers and stuff like that, and on, negotiating and all this stuff, all this lost time, we're now 2 weeks away from the season, we're nowhere near ready for the new season. How much is this going to hold us back, do you think, for going into next season?
Incredibly. With half the players still haven't got back from holiday yet, so it shows. And we've got a big game. We can really start on the front foot here. It's going to be a real problem for Nuno. I mean, this is probably why we couldn't get a good manager in the first place. Not that I think we're actually going to back Nuno. I think Nuno is probably one of the best choices we had to get as a manager, because he's proven at Wolves over the last 5 years that he's a top manager. So this could have been, if he can't get his players back to set them up, how are we going to even challenge against Man City on the first game of the season, even with a Harry Kane in the starting lineup? And it's just going to be, it's setting him up for failure, which is what the ownership of the club have done to every manager for the last 15 years. Yeah. It's utterly unbearable. So how does that? It's crazy. It's beyond crazy. Another manager being set up to fail. Real problem. Again. How do we need to act like a big football club, and we're not acting like a big football club. We're acting like what the scum around the road think we are, which is tadpoles. We need to act like a big football club.
And let's say, for argument's sake, we do get in a Romero next week for 50 million plus the 5 added on what's been reported this morning. Is that the definition of acting like a big club?
No, because we should have bought him 2 weeks ago. You say, you want 55 million, here's 60. Just get the bastard in. Set the team up.
Can you imagine Levy doing that? You know what? He costs 10 million. We'll give him 20. Don't you worry about that.
All we got to do is we've got to set the team up for success. And at this moment in time, we're not setting the team up for success. We're setting it up for total failure.
Yeah,
our management and planning is just terrible, isn't it? It's just we don't know how to plan for the future.
Beyond.
We're always playing catch up all the time.
Always playing catch up. It's going to be it's like showing up to a shopper's dinner and your mum's told you there's no chicken soup. It's unbelievable. You go home.
That's the analogy of the century right there. That's the analogy of the century.
You've got the canadles, but where's the bloody soup? I want the soup.
That's how Nuno probably feels right now.
Exactly. Ben knows the score. Ben knows the score.
Brilliant. Ben, let me ask you this. There's obviously big reports today that Man City have made a big £100 million move for Jack Grealish. What's your thoughts on how that will affect the potential Kane move? If do you think that maybe rules it out for this summer if the Grealish deal goes through?
I'm going to agree with our honourable friend Brian Daigle, lovely bloke as he is, that Man City are probably scared shitless that they're going to get a transfer ban. So they're going to go all out, get the players they need, and prepare for the next 3 years without any players, and maybe bring some of the chaps they've got coming through their youth academy, because their youth academy is absolutely unbelievable. So maybe they're going to try and ship out. I still don't think Harry's going, because I think now that there's one thing you don't do is you don't piss off a rich Jewish bloke. So, and they've pissed off not only Levy but Lewis, so they're not going to want to sell to him if it's the last thing they want to do. They don't care about the money. It's to prove a point to them that they're not going to be bullied. And as we know, we can't even bully them, and we're paying them 1,500 quid a year to go and watch this dross.
Yeah.
So, imagine what happens when you piss them off. They're not going to take it.
What do you think? When you're looking at the new season now, going into the new season, what are you expecting in terms of league position next year?
At this moment in time, if we get a Romero, I think 5th is possibly a certain. If we keep Harry Kane, we can definitely see a top 5.
Yeah.
But the problem is, with our stadium and the amount of money we're paying every single week to watch Tottenham, we should be expecting nothing less than top 4. But as we've proven again, prepare to fail, fail to prepare, or whatever way you want to put them.
Yeah.
So we could easily get the top 4 if we would just sign the players that this club desperately needs to challenge, and they just won't. So I think if we get Romero in, brilliant start, we can definitely get top 5. But what we really need is a Romero plus a Tomiyasu, so we can really rebuild that defence.
Plus a Milenkovic as well.
Yeah, maybe a Milenkovic, maybe someone in the reins of Tammy Abraham. I'd tell you rather to play, not Tammy Abraham himself, but a player in that mould to play in the cup games. Because one of the reasons why we're falling short is we play Harry Kane every single game, and then come January, he does his ankle in because he's having to overwork his ankles. And as we know, Harry Kane is a slow starter and a fast finisher. So it'd be really nice in the opening cup games, the Conference League, if we had someone like a Tammy Abraham to take up that mantle. We had Vinicius last year, but it's like he didn't speak English and you're throwing him into the deep end. We need someone, maybe a Danny Ings, possibly. Maybe like someone like a Chris Wood. Might not be the quality we need, someone like a Chris Wood. But they know the league inside out. They know the cups inside and out. Maybe that would be a choice just to play them whilst Harry Kane is still getting into his motions. And then he can play as a top 2 because Harry Kane loves to drop deep now. So maybe like an actual orthodox number 9 bully players, maybe that would really work for us.
Interesting. All right, Ben, absolute pleasure to get you on. I don't think you've called in before, have you?
No, first time. I've just joined as a member. So
brilliant. Well, welcome to the family.
Call-ins.
Yeah, brilliant. Welcome to the family, and I cannot wait to get your opinions on again, mate.
I'll try to if I stop shouting.
Shabbat shalom, my friend.
Have a good one, Ben.
See you soon. Cheers. Bye. That was a good call from Ben. Always love having new callers in, but this next caller is definitely not a new caller. Let's get him on. One of the regulars, Jack Kinecki, people. How you doing, Jack?
Everybody. Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is in your part of the world. I'm getting a bit of feedback in my headphones. Is there someone else in the back end that's not muted? Oh, there. So it's better now. But Jack,
might be better.
Jack, how are you, my friend?
I'm not bad. How are you guys? I know you guys have been keeping up with this, daily show, and I really appreciate it.
No, I
mean, it every morning. It's a good thing to wake up to.
Thank you very much. But Jack, coming in, what's your opinions on this Romero deal now? Obviously, there's been some quite positive updates this morning. It's looking like, the reliable sources saying it could get done next week. How are you feeling about it?
To be honest, I'd be delighted, obviously, if we got it through. I think maybe to add a bit of, it's not in any sense to defend Daniel Levy or Paratici in any sense, because we should be, if we want to be like the Chelseas, the Cities, the Uniteds of the world, you do practically pay any price that they ask for. But you kind of consider, right, that during the pandemic, a lot of the prices of players should have dropped considerably. And when you think about it with Atalanta, they kind of almost were asking practically, what he would be worth, if the pandemic hadn't even happened. So maybe that's probably what had been happening, was they practically were pushing it really, really far. And then Paratici and Levy, mostly Levy, obviously being kind of the cheapskate he is, was, just saying, listen, that's going to be over the budget and we might have to look at alternative options. And I think that's despicable considering how much profit he makes and how much the fact that he pays himself the most. But it's a bit, it's just, if you put yourself in the dark shoes of, or maybe mindset of Levy, that is how maybe he might have thought about it, is just, we should be paying actually 25-30 million for this guy, considering that all these clubs should not really have very much money, to bargain with.
Going into next season, Jack, we've kind of left ourselves with a lot of work to do in the next few weeks before the season starts. At this point, when you look at where the squad's at, how much work needs to be done with it, who needs to be sold, who needs to come in, do you feel like it's already a situation where we've given ourselves too much to do and we can't really, and it's kind of irreparable going into next season in terms of really challenging for top 4? Or do you think the situation can still be salvaged?
I mean, I think there's still plenty of transfers they could get through the door, but is it way too late? And could they have done it sooner? Absolutely. I mean, especially again, considering that a lot of these players, they probably should have probably got through the door even before the likes of Paratici even came in, I would say. The fact that he kind of it's almost like kind of unloading, like a unfinished essay or project on somebody kind of last minute, last night, and Paratici's just trying to get it done to turn in or something. So, yeah, to be honest, obviously we could have done it sooner, but I'm probably delusional and optimistic enough to think that we will get 2 center backs in. We will get ideally, someone that can play right back. Will we get a straight out fullback? I'm not so sure. Brian Hill, a lot of people saying we haven't got the right winger. I do think Brian Hill will be converted into kind of an inverted winger on the right hand side. He even the last 6 games of his Ibar season, played on the right hand side. So I'm pretty sure he's going to, get accustomed to it as well. In the Premier League, you kind of do have to be able to play on both sides of the wing if you want to be able, to play for the big clubs. So to be honest, he's not going about it very quickly. But I do think, it's obviously Levy who just dumped this last minute project on him, and but I'm going to be optimistic enough that Paratici is going to be able to get a lot of these through.
But Jack, in terms of Brian Hill, we were having a conversation before saying, Leon Bailey could be an option for Aston Villa if they do sell Jack Grealish. Would that annoy you in terms of would you have preferred to sign Leon Bailey to Brian Hill?
I think obviously anybody would probably want to prefer to sign Leon Bailey to Brian Hill, but I think sometimes we have to remain hasty. It's kind of like the Jules Koundé situation where, we went to Jules Koundé. Jules Koundé said, I'm going to wait for something else, and I think that probably could have been the case maybe with Leon Bailey, where we went to him and Leon Bailey was thinking maybe there might be a better club with a better future. Obviously with Aston Villa, that should be beneath us. But it's possible that Leon Bailey, just didn't, just wasn't interested in coming to our club or wasn't interested in maybe playing second fiddle to someone behind him. To be honest, I would have obviously gone for Leon Bailey. I would have gone for Pedro Gonçalves, that guy from Sporting Lisbon who just scored 23 goals in the last season and won them the title. But, a lot of these players we might have, put in a bid for, but the club either might have said no to us or it's possible that the player might have said no to us. We never know. But, yeah, I definitely would have gone for those players.
And what's your opinion then on the bid for Jack Grealish from Man City and how that affects Kane's future? What's your opinion on that?
To be honest, I think you guys might be spot on. It's quite clever for you guys to say that, considering the transfer ban that might be imminent, even though they kind of got out of the last financial fair play situation quite schemishly. You might consider that they might want to get a lot of these transfers in ahead of time, maybe similar to what Barcelona did, I think, with Suarez and players like that before, a couple of years ago. So, to be honest, I think you guys might be spot on, getting Grealish in because Kane might be just too expensive or just too impossible for them to get. I would be quite unfortunate, for Grealish to go there. I think that'd be a huge betrayal to Joe and the rest of the Birmingham community, but hopefully hopefully Grealish, sees his morals and, maybe even sees, the project that's being built at Villa and maybe, might want to stay for at least a few seasons more.
Yeah,
Fair
I mean,
enough.
does your gut tell you that Harry Kane is staying this summer then? Is he frozen?
Oh, is he frozen?
I think he's frozen. We'll have to get him off. But thanks for calling in, Jack.
Jack's
Thanks
disconnected, yeah.
for calling in. What's that?
There's a couple of super chats.
Go on.
It says Gary Paul Speed.
Great name. Rest in peace, Gary Speed.
But I don't think it's a reference. I don't know. Maybe I think that's his actual name. It just says every year, same old Levy, haggle, crap Levy, slash Enoch out. And then he also goes on to say, we win 0 whilst Levy, Enoch in charge, penny pinching. And that was what he had to say. Now I understand his frustration, and I think that's absolutely right. For the majority of the time,
Bring Jack back on.
Oh, Jack's back. Jack back.
Sorry about
The
that.
The Jack is back.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I think
Were
I was
you
just,
talking or was I talking?
I think I was just finished talking about, just wishing Joe and the rest of the Birmingham community that, Jack Grealish should, just think about it a bit longer and maybe not do it this season.
And what's your opinion, Jack, on the news today that Lucas Moura is made available for transfer if the right offer comes in? Considering how he's played in pre-season, would you like to see him stay and see how he does under Nuno, or do you think if the right offer comes in, it's probably best to get rid and free up a space in the squad?
It's hard to know what the right offer is for maybe Levy and Paratici. For me, it would be, despite his age, it would be, around the £20 million mark, to be honest, something, close to maybe repay kind of that Brian Hill kind of fee. Because, to be honest, Lucas last season, when you think about it, was one of our most consistent performers. Despite there not being a lot of consistent performers, he kind of was the one that you might say could probably hold his head up the most, especially on some of our worst games, you might say, last season. Lucas was probably the best performer. And then as well in this preseason, you guys might be spot on in saying maybe he's just trying to prove something to the interested clubs with, with all the assists and creativity that he's showing. But it's also maybe the case that Nuno maybe sees something in him with the way he's been cutting in off of the right-hand side and, slipping in those balls in behind, on the floor really kind of cleverly. And maybe he's, found something on Lucas's game that maybe none of us have seen before. To be honest, I think either or could be true. I would be a bit sad to see him sold, especially considering I think, obviously you guys might be right, and he's never really come to fruition and to the player that we thought he was going to be. But at the same time, I think he's been always a really true professional. He's always been, really well liked within the dressing room, within the club. He's kind of in a way maybe a bit of our kind of N'Golo Kante. I don't really think you can hate Lucas, kind of player. He always runs hard for the club, and like I said, especially last season, our worst games, like our worst moments, you probably might say that Lucas was the one that we would never have slighted. He was the one that always looked his best.
All right, Jack, absolute pleasure as always getting you on, my friend, and have a good weekend.
Thank you guys. You guys as well.
Cheers,
one,
mate.
Jack. Good
See you
to
later,
see you,
Jack. And last caller. Oh, is it last caller? Anyway, next caller is Sai. Big up, Sai. The last time we saw you, Sai, you were getting drenched in beer. How you doing today?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly.
Sorry, I had to turn the camera around because the front is smashed. The back isn't as good either, so now I still look like I'm underwater, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
That's the main thing, is my voice, not my look.
Your soothing voice, Sai. That's the most important thing.
So how many trophies are Spurs winning this season, Sai?
Well, based on last year's poor prediction, I'm going to go with 1 this year.
Okay.
Just the 1.
Plus
I'll take it.
one.
I'll take it.
I think
so 2.
Gonna win the double.
I think we could actually win the Conference League for sure. If we don't, it would be absolutely horrifically embarrassing. But I do think that hopefully Nuno is bringing a new kind of experience to the team, and we have some new talent put into the team, that we could actually go that extra mile in the finals, and try and actually win one of those domestic cup competitions for sure. I think the Premier League is going to be very difficult this year, as it is every year. But I do think as well our success is very much heavily involved on whether we keep Harry or not, to be honest. Bless him.
And talk about keeping Harry. Well, how do you think that this deal for Grealish that Man City are in the midst of, how does that affect Kane's future for you?
City have unbelievable power, don't they, with the money? So even if they could easily get both if they wanted to, I think that we have the power. Well, not in Harry's instance, but I think that we have the power in terms of Daniel's commitment to saying that he doesn't want to sell him. Now, we've seen this narrative before. I remember the Gareth Bale situation where we were buying all these players and no one kind of knew, like, definitively whether Gareth was going or not at the time. And it was like we were spending money because we knew someone was coming in. Now, I hope this year I know that we've sold a couple of players to try and balance the books a bit, but I'm hoping that that's not repeat this year, that we're just trying to spend money, because I've seen a lot of big numbers thrown out there. Yeah, I know we bought Ndombele for quite a bit a couple of seasons ago, but I think like I've seen some big numbers like 40, 50 million and 2 or 3 different players at those value levels as well. I just hope we're not spending money that's coming from the sale of Harry. And I wouldn't put that past them at all. But I do think that if we can keep Harry and add the talent that we've been linked with, we could be extremely strong this year. Obviously, it's still developing the team and new management style, etc. But I think we have a good opportunity to try and back into that top 4 area if we get it right. And Harry
Do you not think we're already too far behind these other clubs right now, though? Considering how much work we have to do compared to the other teams, they've already made big moves in the window. We're still yet to make any serious moves as of yet. They're more settled teams than us. So, I mean, how do we go about closing the gap with so few weeks left to the season when we've got so much work to do?
I think it's always been about that defence, you know. I think our attacking options are fantastic. I think our midfield is, yes, okay, we could still add to it and improve it, of course, and get rid of some deadwood. But I've always thought that the last 2-3 seasons has been about that back 4. It's never been concrete enough like it was back in the day with Jan and Toby in their prime and great wing backs. Like, I know obviously Walker was a bit further back, but certainly with Danny Rose and Trippier, etc., you know, to an extent. And I think what worries me is we're selling some players of the magnitude of Toby, and albeit he is older, and yes, he should probably have moved on maybe a year or 2 ago anyway, but we must make it a priority to replace these guys with phenomenal options, because otherwise we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot like we've done in the past, obtain money in for these players, and then go, oh, actually, Nuno, don't worry, mate. Just use some players from the academy for a couple of seasons. Sorry about that. We promised you, as we've done with all the other managers, this, that, and the other, and we're not going to do it. So that's why I'm a bit concerned right now, is, like you guys have said many times, is getting that Romero deal over the line. Plan B and Plan C is always great, of course. You know, we know what Levy and all that are like with the penny pinching, as some of the guys said in the comments already. You know, we could end up with Plan D or E at this rate, but who knows? And I think as long as we can finalise, and I hope that's why we've obviously got Patricia to sort this out and push it more and more, unlike that absolute idiot Hitchin who doesn't do anything, to get these defenders in. And I think if we get the solidity in that back 4 that we've missed for many years, the whole team is so much stronger, and I think we can compete, because man for man, I believe our midfield, yes, like I said, 1 or 2 should come in still and improve the team, get rid of some older or standard players.
You keep.
If we can sort the back out, we've got a massively good structure across that whole team.
Sai, your internet's too bad. We're going to have to say thank you very much for joining, but it's time to say goodbye.
I think you seem to have crashed, Sai. I can't hear him anymore.
All right, it's time to bring on Cody Mack, who hasn't been on for a long time. Cody Mack, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good. There's been a conversation happening over the past week with Will Stewart and you and a few other people talking about Brian Hill and Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey is linked with Aston Villa at the moment. I mean, would it be a crime to see Leon Bailey go to Aston Villa?
Oh, this has been such a very difficult summer window to digest, because on one hand, like there's ways you can look at the Brian Hill purchase. I mean, there's 2 parts, right? Like, we got rid of Lamela, and we got rid of Lamelo's wages as well, and we brought in this young prospect who probably doesn't break into the first team this year and maybe plays a key role in cup competitions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we made that move, I found it exciting because to me, even though it didn't address one of our immediate needs, it signaled that we were going to still spend additional money. You know, it wouldn't make much sense for us to bring in a left winger, a left-footed left winger, when we have all these other holes. So it was like, okay, all right, here we go. We're going to kickstart the moves, and now we've been in a holding pattern since then. Um, yeah, I mean, I think everybody should say that they would take Leon Bailey at this club. He still doesn't address one of our most needed positions. I mean, we need defenders more than anything. But to say would I rather have had Leon Bailey than Brian Hill, it's difficult. You know, these transfers will be judged ultimately on what the player becomes. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you say we haven't got a defender over the line yet, which is true. We haven't yet. But, you know, there's very strong rumours this morning on Christian Romero, and a lot of reliable sources say it will get done. I mean, do you think that this transfer window that we will get the defensive frailties over the line? Well, not the frailties out the door, and the new signings through the window. Do you think it's going to get done?
There are just so many wheels turning at the same time right now. We don't know what the situation is with Harry Kane. I think it's quite ominous to be reading that there's a possibility that he won't be playing against Manchester City because he needs rest from his Euro campaign. I think there's obvious discontent between him and the upper hierarchy of Tottenham Hotspur. Manchester City are sniffing around. Who knows whether or not the FFP scandal is going to prevent them from making any significant moves, or if it'll motivate them to make significant moves before any kind of penalties are leveraged against them. I don't see how we could possibly get rid of Toby Alderweireld and not replace him with a world-class center back. I mean, not that Toby is world-class at this point in his career or anything, but the needs at that back line are so great, it just wouldn't make any sense to bring in Fabio Paratici and sell Toby and not replace him with somebody. Now, I don't want to underestimate the potential incompetence of Tottenham Hotspur, because we've seen in the past what this hierarchy are capable of doing in terms of wasting opportunities. For me, I'm trying to temper my expectations for this season, because I just don't want to live in a state of constant frustration. For me, it's so important for us to get Christian Romero over the line, as opposed to abandoning him because of a $5 million difference in valuation. I think that for sure there are games being played in terms of Atalanta are clearly turning the screw now that we've sold Toby. You know, they're using the leverage that they have. Daniel Levy should be proud of the way that Atalanta are taking us to the cleaners. They know that this is a player that Fabio Paratici values highly. He brought him in at Juve. Pay up or shut up, we're being told right now. I still believe that we'll get the deal over the line, but we might have to pay a little bit more than we would have liked.
Yeah, but with all the moves that still need to happen from now until the beginning of the season, to really be ready and be challenging for that top four, is it even possible at this stage that we can close the gap on the top four clubs, considering the moves they're making and how we're languishing? Or do you think the situation can still be salvaged from now until the start of the season?
I honestly think there's too many issues in the squad to fix in a single window. I mean, if we were going to really legitimately, because I think we're pretty far off top four as it stands right now. So if we were going to legitimately catapult ourselves into that conversation, we would need to have two center backs, a right back, a midfielder, and a right winger all through the door. I would say already at this point, to give them a proper bedding in period with the new coach. You know, there's so many different things that are happening at the moment. Like I said, everything is kind of linked to the unresolved Kane situation as well. You know, who knows? Like we've been told that we have to sell to buy. We kind of know that's bullshit. But if we're going to make the seismic changes necessary to get us into that top four conversation, I think the opportunity to do that has already passed. So, barring a miracle, I would say no to top four right now.
What needs to happen though, Cody? What needs to happen for us to be in that conversation for the top four?
I think we need to keep Harry Kane. We need to rehabilitate our defensive frailties, and that would at least get us into the conversation. But I mean, as far as the thing is, like, you look at Manchester City, they don't have any needs at the moment, but you know that they're going to go and spend money. Chelsea are in the same boat, right? Tuchel turned that team around. They were 8th place when he came in after they sacked Lampard. They went on to finish top 4 and win the Champions League. Leicester have finished above us consecutive years and have also made investments. And Liverpool are going to be rejuvenated, not only with the signing of Konate, but the return of Virgil van Dijk. So there's 4 teams right off the bat that are solid top 4 contenders, barring injury. Things always happen in football. We know that. But when you're going into a season and relying on bad luck on behalf of the teams that you're competing with, you can't really say. I mean, I know that we were not necessarily that far off of top 4 last year, but last year was such a strange year in terms of what happened and not having fans around. And you could argue that we actually overperformed, finishing 7th when you look at the statistics. I mean, we were one of the most clinical teams in the Premier League last year. So there's just too many questions to be answered with literally, like, we play Man City in 2 weeks, and we're sitting here. It's not looking good, The thing is, like,
we're weaker than we were last season, Cody.
Absolutely. And this is a Manchester City team that even in November last year when we played them, you could tell they had not gelled as a squad yet. And this is the same nucleus. They haven't had a whole lot of turnover and movement. So they're going to be hitting the ground running, I think. And we are not.
It's hard to disagree.
Thanks for cheering us all up, Cody, today.
No, you're speaking facts.
Hey, we have to be realistic. Like,
no, of course, I was just joking, man.
We all want the team to do well. We're all going to support the players that we have, but it's the hope that kills you. And 100%. Right now, I'm just trying to, like, not set myself up to be depressed more than I have to.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that if we did have a bit of a better defense last year, then we really could have made that top 4. So I think that for me, to make that top 4 spot, I think we need 2 new centre backs, a new right back. And that's probably it. I think that 2 new centre-backs and a right-back, I think, puts us in the conversation. Does it mean that we're actually going to get it? Probably not. But I think it puts us in the conversation. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I know that there was a lot of people who weren't in favor of Nuno being brought in. But one thing about Nuno and his time at Wolves is that we never really regarded them as an easy walkover 3 points.
Never.
He made that team very difficult to beat. And I think that he is going to address a lot of the issues that plagued us last year in terms of, I feel like the squad fitness in general was a big factor in why we gave up so many leads towards the end of games. And if we I know that you're always going to give up a certain amount of points, but when you're giving up 23 points in a Premier League season, it's just you can't be doing that. And even if we don't invest in center backs, which I think it's impossible. I think for sure we're going to have to get a center back, at least one. But even if we didn't, I feel like the style of play that we're going to employ with Nuno will suit our defensive frailties a little bit better. So we're not built to play Jose ball with Dyer and Sanchez at the back. We were just exposed so often when you're playing that much in your own end. It's just your defensive frailties are going to be on full display. So, I mean, even some of the players that didn't live up to what we expect from them, like the likes of Ndombele and Lo Celso and Dele Alli, like, as much as I would like to see certain players moved on as opposed to given a chance for reclamation, if we do see a better version of those players, it'll be like having new signings. So let's see what happens. I've really tried to say to myself that I won't judge the summer window until it's over on September 1st. Obviously, we would all prefer to be getting our business done proactively, and I know that we have a long history of mucking about until the last day, but we do have a new manager. We do have a new director of football. It's a bizarre summer with clubs in financial distress. Let's see what happens, and just try not to get too frustrated day by day.
Yeah, I think that's
We'll try
absolutely
our
spot
best.
on. That's absolutely spot on, Cody. You go have a good weekend, and thank you very much for coming on, my friend.
Cheers, Cody.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Yep, glory,
Good to
glory.
see you too.
Glory, Cody. I'll speak to you soon, bro.
Nice one.
And I think that is the last caller of Good Morning Tottenham today. The clips will be with you very shortly. We'll start working on that as soon as we get off air. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's been an action-packed Good Morning Tottenham today. A lot of news coming out this morning, and I'm sure it's not going to stop for the whole weekend and the whole of next week as well. So keep your eyes peeled on We Are Tottenham TV. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.